Welcome to Speaking Prowess, the show that supercharges your communication and fuels unstoppable success. Sifu Rafael, visionary founder and world-renowned master instructor, elevates leaders into unforgettable communicators who command the room and inspire action. Alongside him is Scott Schilling, the authentic connector, a business growth expert with 40 years of experience, empowering audiences to rise higher, succeed faster, and thrive with purpose. Together, they bring you the strategies, insights, and inspiration to amplify your voice, expand your influence, and unlock your true potential. This is Speaking Prowess. Your journey to communication mastery starts now.
Happy Friday, Scott. How are you today?
Happy Friday. I am fabulous, Sifu, but I'll get better.
You get better every time I see you. Even more handsome, too.
Well, thank you. Stop it. Stop it.
Bring some more.
We've had so much fun so far, and we haven't even started the show. My goodness.
I know. Well, you know why?
We haven't.
Because we know that the two young ladies who are coming on are super exceptional. And let's go ahead and bring them on. Jaclyn and Solana. Good day. Happy Friday to both of you.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Yes. Happy Friday.
So today it's very interesting. We already started a conversation and it became really interesting. I actually think that's a great conversation to continue, and I shared that with all of you. Who wants to take it away, Jackie?
Oh,
you just got voluntold.
I got voluntold. Okay, so I'll give you the backstory of where we were sharing beforehand. So if anybody has a young student who is in the college preparatory age of applying to colleges, as a parent, you know, communication is so paramount in the process of the application process and writing essays. And we had hired a coach to help with the essays. And the whole point originally was actually to take myself and my husband out of it, because you know how that frustration dynamic can go when you're working with your child or son or teenager or young adult. And you know, in the process right now, you know, we have essays that have to be in like now, and we're behind. And I'm getting messages back from the coach saying, you know, with edits and on the essays, and I'm looking at them and I am so frustrated. And I can understand my son's frustration because the edits are not being communicated properly. I mean, we are getting edits that say things like expand on your interests. Okay, can you give me a little bit more on that? Or, you know, change the flow of the essay. Change the flow. How? What do you mean? I'm not understanding where you want the flow to go. And you have and as the coach is communicating, there's got to be something in their brain that's like saying, okay, we want the flow to start with this point and go to this point and go to this point. And it's not coming out that way. And, you know, I'm pulling my hair out. My son's pulling his hair out. And it all comes down to that quintessential communication. And I went back to the coach and I said, be direct, be specific. Like if you want the flow to change, say how do you want it to change? You know, don't just give it wishy-washy. You need to be really specific. You know, start here, move the paragraph here. Not so glossy. We need specifics, and we need to be able to communicate. You know, if we need to change something, how does it happen? And anyway, and it is mind-boggling to me. And then, okay, so now I'm going to throw something out there, like, and you can't use, by the way, in school applications, you cannot use AI. But I did put AI, I did actually take my son's essays and put it through Claude and actually say, okay, Claude, what does he need to do to make this better? Because I'm not getting it from the coach.
Yeah. Well, I think that's you raise a tremendous point here, and it's one that, quite frankly, in communications podcasts or events like this is rarely talked about. And people send their communication from the sender's point of view, and it actually needs to be sent from the receiver's point of view.
Yes, well said.
We tend to I suggest to all my clients that they start speaking at a 5th grade level. It's not because people can't understand anything past that. They can. But if they want it to be more technical, they will ask you to go more technical. If you're too technical early, and they don't receive it, it goes over their head. Yeah. They shut down. They will never tell you that happened, because ultimately it will embarrass them. They will think it's their fault for not receiving it properly, when in fact it's actually the presenter's challenge for not presenting it in a way that it can be received.
Scott, you kind of hit the nail on the head with that, because that is actually what we've been going through, where my son's thinking he's done or completed or almost finished, and yet not.
Yeah, well, that's, if that coach has a specific format, then they should say, you talk about this type of an experience, example, right, that goes into this type of experience, example, which then leads to this example, right? So that that we take it. And we were talking because there is an age discrepancy in the 4 of us. Some of us more mature folks, that's code word for older. We learn differently and speak differently, but it's because it's the way we learned. And unfortunately, the systems have changed that not all are taught the exact same. I found this by having children, and that were of a different generation. And so that's why I think this show becomes very important, because building strength and success through communication, people are like, oh, it can't be that big a deal. It's every bit. We're communicating every minute of every day.
Mm-hmm. I have to say that I love the fact that this has become a show to help coaches coach. Mm-hmm. Because what you did, Jaclyn, is you were coaching the coach how to coach.
Yeah.
And one of the things is you were trying to avoid that, but you had to step in. And so any coaches who are listening, this is an important show for you to understand that clarity is one of the most important aspects of communication. Mm-hmm. Without that, it's just mumble jumble. And if we don't know the beginning, we don't know the middle, we don't know the end, how are we going to get there? Right? We need navigational systems to travel and get there safely, hopefully. Solana, you and I said earlier that you're very mature, and it's not because you're old, it's because you understand concepts and ideas so well. But you also help people communicate in a different level. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Sure. I was thinking I can go so many directions with this. So I'll start with schools. So I'm a New York City vendor, which means that I am able to work in any school in New York City underneath the DOE. And so we teach, me and my business partner, we teach podcast club. But really what we're teaching is public speaking. We work with 3rd to 12th grade, right? So we are teaching kids to be able to really story tell, to tell about what's going on in their lives, giving them a safe space. But also what I've noticed is a lot of students, they really don't know how to express themselves. There is one episode we had, a podcast, a school in the Bronx, it's a rougher school. And I could tell that the energy in the room was just low. Everyone was kind of like not really talking much. It was a high school. And I could tell like, it was just like heavy. And so I shared a story about myself. Personally, for me, I've dealt with some loss in the past few years. I've lost my sister and my father in the last 5 years. And once I kind of went through that, all of a sudden the students started sharing because one student lost her sister in the classroom, and her sister was a senior. So there were seniors in the classroom too. So they were dealing with the loss of, she's dealing with the loss of her sister. The students were dealing with the loss of their friend. And that was why the energy was so off that day. And then all of a sudden they started sharing about what they loved about her, what they missed about her. And I could tell it was a very needed time to speak because they were holding in all these emotions and feelings, and no one gave them a place to talk about it at all. They were just kind of forced to be like, I don't know, I'll go home and cry about it. Let me get over it. Let me act like I'm fine because I don't want to cry in front of her sister who's here, right? But we just told them, like, it's okay to express yourself and say out loud that you are sad too. You don't have to say that, oh, because it's not my sibling, I shouldn't be feeling as sad, right? So we give them a place to really open up and express themselves, and kids don't really get to do that. And then also I can take this another direction too, because along being a vendor, my business is called Strength Solutions Inc., and I coach powerlifting. And so when it comes to my powerlifting athletes, the number one thing that I'm told when I get a new athlete who is switching from an old coach, it's always poor communication, because I do all of my coaching online. What I do for powerlifting coaching is I will take in all their information, look at all their videos of them lifting, see their powerlifting history. I create them a program, and then every day we're talking, and I watch them as they make videos of their training. They send it back to me, and I send it back to them and say, hey, this is what you got to fix. Most coaches who do online coaching, there's always a big break in communication. It could be that the lifter expected them to give them really clear feedback, and they just say, that's fine, that looks good, and they're not really telling them what to fix to make it better. Or they might say to them to fix something, and they're not showing them. And like the lifter didn't realize that that coach was not going to show them videos of how to fix it. They're just going to say it out loud, which is not helpful, really, when you're trying to teach technique of something. So one thing I pride myself on is communication, because I show it via video. I explain it. I would go on calls with people, because when you're doing stuff online with online coaching, if you can't communicate really clearly what to fix, you're not going to get them very far.
Solana, what you're saying is absolutely true, and so many people forget the communication modalities. Words are part of it, no doubt, but then there's intonation, there's tonality, there's how you make the words dance, and there's physiology, actually the movement around it. And we tend to we also forget that visual is part of it. That's why podcasts and video podcasts are so valuable, because you get to see different things. You know, I mean, you get to see expressions, you get to, along with the words and everything. But I agree with you. That's the I had somebody say to me one time, you know, this is the 8th time I've heard a message on this topic, and the first time I've understood it. Because everybody tried to, you know, I'm the authority, let me use some really big words, let me tell you how wonderful I am, right? They're using acronyms and they're using stuff, and everybody's going, I got no clue what you're saying, right? And if you simplify, again, you can always go more technical, but you can never gain them back. If you've lost them, they just go, oh, they don't care. They obviously don't care. They're not giving me the right. So there's no feel there. What I wrote down when you were talking is you make people feel seen and heard.
Yep.
And when you can translate that, now you've really accomplished something. Congratulations. That's cool.
I appreciate that.
You know, and the other thing that I kept thinking that as you were talking too is giving that feedback with a video, and you know, showing them like, okay, this is what you're doing. Here might be something that you can do to fix that, or a twist, or something to help with the lifting, or even when you're talking and helping people on the podcast to help them open up. You're giving people examples, and that is something that I feel like so many times, you know, we forget to reference back an example, because people, you know, need to hear something that says, okay, you know, oh, let me explain to you how somebody else may have done this, or here's an example of. And people, you know, it's part of that storytelling, because people understand stories, And so by giving that example, you're giving a little bit of a story, or you're sharing the story of how to maybe have a lift a little differently, because, if you bend your knees, it's going to kind of hurt your back as much. And then maybe there's a story that goes with it. If you forget to do that part, you might be more injured. And I can give you, like, so-and-so did, used to go like this, and then they switched to this, right? And it's all part of that, which then makes more of a deeper reference, which also helps stay in the brain and memory better as well.
Absolutely. I love everything that we're talking about. What really caught my attention is when you allowed, Selena, kids to share. Because it was probably very tough for them to even open up. But because what Jaclyn just said is that you shared, you gave them an example. How do I share my feelings? Why should I share my feelings? You gave them an out to say, hey, you know what? I'm in a safe space. If this young lady, and of course, they're not thinking you as an old lady because they're high school kids, they're thinking this woman, right? But they're thinking if she can open up to us, and she's this person, celebrity kind of person that we're looking at, and she can do that, it gives me a door, an opening, a window that I can go through. And so many people don't understand that communication. It's just a little thing sometimes that we have to get involved with, that we have to do for someone else. Like you, I'm very much in the physical space when I teach certain things, right? So a lot of times it's either look at the example, it's either me doing the example, or I have somebody who is doing it correctly doing the example. And then sometimes I will have everybody in the room demonstrate it, because in our head, we're doing it correctly. It's perfect. I am awesome. And then all of a sudden, you're watching somebody else, and then they're watching somebody, and they're watching and watching. All of a sudden, it's my turn, and I do it, and I'm not doing it like them, but I think I'm doing it perfectly. And then we get critiqued by even the other people in the room. So for me, it's allowing other people not to say that I'm the only authority, because we all have eyes. We all should be able to see what's going on. And so many times we're blinded by our own vision, because we think this is why you're so important to tell them, send me the video, because I'm not just going to look at the video and go, good job, because that tells them nothing, right? Somebody wants to go, where did I do a good job? Where could I have improved? What position should I shift in? All these tiny little details, and details to me are huge. Without the little details, we don't have the bigger picture, right? Every pixel on a picture is critical. Take 10 pixels out, something's missing, right? And it could be a picture of 1,000 pixels, but take some out, that picture's changing.
Sifu, something that you just said, I just want to share, because I think it's also really important that you just said is when you're teaching people and you're having other people critique, so to speak, what people are doing. That is such an amazing lesson for communication, to help people actually understand that they actually can speak up and say, hey, here's a, I think you're not doing it correctly, or you might want to do it like this. I think that so many people have been, and I'd love to have your guys' opinion on this. I think so many people have either been given the fear of speaking out and raising their hand, or not being called on, or so there's that fear of actually sharing what you know, or giving your opinion, because you've been shot down, or it's not been an opportunity or a space. And Selena, your podcast gives people that in teaching that, it gives people that space.
Yeah,
I'm going to jump in.
Oh,
Go ahead. If you don't mind, I'm just going to jump in and then give you the stage, Selena. One of the things that I have when I'm teaching Kung Fu, I have them judge each other. And sometimes they won't say much. And I'm like, then I stop them all and I go, come on over here. Let me ask you a question. What's a jury made of? 12 jurors. I'm like, okay. Who are they really? They're people in the community. You're judged by your peers. So before, and I don't want you to be judged by a jury. This is it here. We're safe space.
Right.
So let's be open. The truth is what we want in a jury, right? They want to be able to present the facts and then come back with a conclusion as to the truth based on the facts. Right now, here's the facts. You moved your body this way, you moved this way. These are the facts that everybody can see, and everybody's going to pick something else out. And I think that's where they now start to understand that I'm not criticizing you. I'm helping you. And now their voice becomes better. And now they're able to say, I think you didn't do this, you didn't do that, but you did this correctly. And that's really, really impactful. Selena, stage is yours.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, one thing that people say all the time, people don't really care what you say until you know how much they care. And when it comes to working with students, the first day of Podcast Club, we barely do any podcasting. I share about who I am and some of my story, ups and downs and everything, because one thing I've learned is students really don't care at all until they can relate to you. And I can see, even as we continue on with Podcast Club, when we'll have episodes where we talk about teachers, or even every single Podcast Club, I try to have them interview at least one person from the school, within the school. And sometimes they'll struggle to pick somebody because they're like, I don't want to talk to these people. And I'm like, it's because they can't relate to their teachers. I don't think teachers ever take the time to talk about anything besides just the curriculum, maybe, or they're very just like, I'm going to discipline you. But if you can come off as a person first to a student, they will actually be open to listening to you. And when I think back to myself as a kid, I only liked like 2 teachers throughout all of like lower school, middle school, high school. But they were the ones that would just talk to me about stuff that wasn't just schoolwork. Like they would just talk to me like I was a person. And so that's a big deal too. Like if you can open up, share about yourself, and then talk to students like they're a person, not just like a kid that I can be over. I think that's really, really big.
Yeah, I think that's also the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Scott.
No, I was going to say it's actually part of the one of the talks I do, translating between generations. We've got 4 generations in play right now: Boomer, X, Millennial, and Z, and there are differences and there are divides. Okay, there are differences and divides, but we can either be upset about that, or we can recognize it and work to understand it and work to translate down. So actually, I've got a book at the editor right now talking about it, and the way I start the book is, I'm on your side. I really am. I might be a boomer, but I'm on your side. I want to defend you. People haven't taken the time to teach you. And so how can I be upset with you if the older generations haven't shared things? And similarly, if the younger generations can share things in the other direction too. I think when you were saying that before about kids just don't feel like they can talk, the thing that came to me was, if I want to hear your opinion, I'll give it to you. Right. I remember somebody saying that one time, and I was like, whoa, that's not going to encourage me to talk. Right. But how many people have lived that? And I think that's a big part of this communication, is opening up and saying, hey, I'm on your side. I really am. I want to hear you. I want to see you. I want to understand what you're feeling. And I think that's a big part of where the divides come from, because unfortunately, many times in the younger generations, they've been trained to have their face into a screen, and they haven't, if you would take away a phone for a day and just say, now you have to actually talk to people all day. First of all, many would panic. And the others would go, wow, this is actually pretty cool. And we understand there's 8.5 billion people, and they've pretty much figured out how to make more. That ain't changing. We're going to have more people keep on coming to the planet. Wouldn't it make sense that we communicate more freely and really work to listen through the generations and uplift, as opposed to have a bias against them simply because they didn't learn the way we learned?
Yeah, really true.
I gotta say, I see so many toddlers with cell phones. Toddlers in carriages, and it's become babysitters.
Right.
And so, Scott, I had an idea, a thought. You said there's 4 generations, and so what's the next one? If Z is the last one you talked about, is it going to go back to A?
I think it goes back to alpha at that point.
We're going to call them alpha.
And in reality, it's actually 5, because the greatest generation is still in play for those who want to be in there as well. When I've had these conversations, downstreaming this message to the younger generations, younger than me, people are like, thank you. Let's address this and let's make it better for all. When I share it upstream to the older generations, the greatest generation, they go, thank you for making us relevant again. We have all this knowledge, expertise, experience, and wisdom, and all we want to do is share it. We're still alive. So many people, even though we're breathing, so many people aren't giving credit to us for being alive. That's a challenge. And there's so much wisdom available if people would just want it.
That's a key thing. People need to want it. And the difference in generations, and I think it's really interesting how people, how the older generation, like I'm thinking about my, my parents relating, back to my son, or somebody who is so much more wisdom, who you hear people who have had amazing businesses, and they want to share their knowledge. And it's the art of communication that actually allows us to actually say, oh my God, Scott, Selena, Sifu, you guys have had great businesses and whatnot. Can I pick your brain? Can we have a conversation? And it's helping them understand that asking that, people want to share their knowledge, but you have to be able to actually communicate the question, to be able to, to ask, to start it.
I have to say something about that. I am willing to share anything I know, but if you're not going to take the time to truly listen, then I'm wasting my time.
Yeah.
So for the youth that you're helping, Selena, some of them want what you have. Some could care less. And so how many of the ones that care less do we even invest in? Because it only makes sense for us to invest in the ones that want it, right? But then we're kind of leaving the other ones behind. So for me, I'm very particular as to who I work with. And I give them a 1-month trial. I said, let's find out if this makes sense for both of us. You're not just checking me out. I'm checking you out, because I have to be invested in you. Even if I'm just going to mentor you and there's no money exchange, I still have to be invested in you, because it's my time. I'll never, ever get that back. So let's consider how we communicate. And Selena, I love the fact that you're going to these schools that are troubled and you're giving our future a voice. And I call all kids our future. Some of them are going to lead us into great things, and some of them are going to try to destroy what the other ones are building. So we need to keep encouraging our youth to understand that they have so much value and worth. Even though someone may say you're worthless, it is not true. Our youth are my future. So let's keep investing in them.
No, I completely agree. By the way, guys, my name is pronounced Solana, by the way.
I'm sorry. I
Yeah, sorry.
apologize.
Okay.
I apologize.
It's okay. But that's the
It's
whole
the
reason why
Spanish
I
for me.
it's all good. That's why I love talking to students, because you were saying even like some will lead us to greatness and some will try to lead us toward destruction as they get older. But if you can get to them early, right, and give them good positive things to focus on, even get them starting to think about what they can do within the world. I've had some students, especially with high school, and I can tell some are like really excited to make a change in the world. Like they are just passionate about something that I'm encouraging them to go after, whether it's like fashion, making music, whatever it is. I'm like, please go after it with your whole heart. But I've also seen students who are like, I don't care. But I realize that they don't care because they don't really have people pouring into them, and that's why they don't care. So those students may be tougher to reach, but at the same time, I just try to figure out what they like, what they're passionate about. Okay, I think a lot of kids are like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. Like, that's fine. You're like 16. Like, people are 35 and like, I don't know what to do with my life. But at the same time, you still have to pick something that you enjoy and then put energy into it, no matter what it is. So if you can get them to care about one thing or figure out one thing they care about and say, what if you put more energy into this one thing you care about? I don't care if it's a sport. I don't care if it's drawing. I don't care what it is, but just make it seem like it's important, because it is important.
Yeah.
How did you get on your path to weightlifting? To powerlifting?
Powerlifting. All right. I figured out how to make this story very short. Don't worry. So I did sports my entire life. I became a freshman in college, and I did not make it on the track team because I wanted to run for a school. Didn't make it. So that's when I started weightlifting, just like in the gym. Like I went online, saw women who were like looking really good. And I was like, oh, they look good. Oh, and they're promoting lifting weights, which was it was not normal yet. Like now I feel like it's very normal. This was like 2016. So I'm like, girls were just not lifting weights. They were just running. I was like, oh, let me just try lifting weights. A year into lifting weights, when I turned 18, I had a friend who powerlifted, and he just introduced me to the sport. He was like, you should try powerlifting. I said, what's powerlifting? I went to watch him compete. I saw women competing at the same event, and the atmosphere was so invigorating. Everyone was cheering for each other. Everyone was clapping for each other. Like the girls looked so strong, but they looked good. And I was like, this looks fun. I can envision myself doing it because now I'm seeing it. So as soon as I saw a woman doing it, I got a personal trainer like 3 weeks later. I paid him with sneakers because I worked at a shoe store where I got sneakers for a super discounted rate. And he was like, just buy me a pair of shoes every month and I'll train you. Because I was so broke. And then he said yes to that. I started powerlifting. That was me at 18. Did my first meet 3 months later. I broke a bunch of state records. I didn't even know what a state record was. Did another meet, made it into nationals. Didn't know what nationals was. So I was like getting good really quickly. Went to nationals. I got second place, but I was a junior. First place aged out. So I was invited to compete for Team USA at the World Championship because I was next in line to do it. I didn't know what that was either. I didn't know what the World Championship was, but it's the highest level you can get to in powerlifting. So then I competed in Calgary, Canada in 2018, representing Team USA, and I ended up winning, became world champion at 21 years old. And then from there, I was like, oh, I love this. I want to teach other people how to do it. So I was already a personal trainer, but then I started to start coaching it. So now I'm a coach, and I also still compete to this day at a high level. But that's kind of how it all happened.
Wow, that's awesome. That
That's
is
very
really,
cool.
really great. That
We
is
go
really
we
cool.
go deeper into, if you catch the replay on Coaching Call, we had a huge discussion on this. So go back and watch Coaching Call, everybody.
Definitely will. Yeah. But I love how it started with, somebody, there's like a curiosity and a question. No, come check this out. Come see this, and it opened your eyes to something that you didn't know. And I think that's something that also, again, it goes back to what are those best ways that we can help open the eyes of other, of people into new and different things. And it starts with those questions, and it starts with the interest, but again, it goes back down to communication and how we actually communicate with each other for you to actually get to that point where you could, talk to somebody like, this is what I'm doing, and oh, check this out. There's a path, and the communication is at the crux of it.
Yeah.
Agreed, right? Communication is everything. You know what, Jaclyn,
Yeah.
you mentioned with your son, right? He's going to college.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I was just thinking about the communication with him and the person supposed to be helping him edit the essays. And I'm in the middle of writing a book, and it's called Why Women Should Powerlift. And the first time I got an editor for it was a few months ago, and it was a train wreck because this person, she was recommended. So I talked to her. I thought it'd be great. I gave her my rough draft, and then she didn't talk to me for like 2 weeks. And I was like, wait, like, I thought you were gonna like do some edits, show me. I tell you if I like it. So I'm hitting her up. She didn't respond. And then like maybe 3 weeks actually later, she finally gets back to me. We get on the call and she's talking about the edits that she made and how she essentially my book was more work than she thought, which is fine because it was a rough draft. She sends it back to me. She did half of it, and I hated the entire thing because I'm like, it was 100 pages of someone talking in a way that I would never speak. Just like it was not my voice at all. I felt like she was like probably in her late 50s or early 60s, and I felt like a 60-year-old woman wrote the book. Like that's how I felt. I'm like, yeah, you clearly a 60-year-old woman wrote the book. Like that's what it looks like. So then I had to get another editor. His name's Brian Curian. I've been working with him for a month and a half, and it's going fantastic. But this time, before I paid him, I was like, hey, what can I expect? Or how are we going to communicate? Are you going to put edits in and then show it to me? Can we use a shared Google Doc? And every time I make an edit, I can look at it. Can we get on calls? Like he explained everything. And this editing is going so well because every edit he makes is a suggestion and I can click to see if I like it or not. And then we get on calls bi-weekly and we talk about what we're going to do next. And so I also learned that when you're looking for an editor or someone to help you, you have to really vet them. I'm so used to vetting other people like who are going to work with me, who are going to pay me. And like, I forgot to do it when I'm going to pay somebody
on the other
else.
side. Right. And it's so true, and that, it's funny because like when I'm working with my clients, because I really work with them on their communication with themselves and their really helping them figure out their mission, their purpose, their vision to help them actually delve into what their action plans are. And we do have documents that we share. But it's very interesting with this process with my son, we had used this same coach for my daughter. Very different process. And I think this is actually, this is a lesson, I think, for everybody if you're thinking about your business and how you're growing and if you're wanting to scale. One of the things that I did not know or did not realize is that in the 2 years that between the two of them working together, the woman that we hired to coach has grown her business and she's trying to scale it. Therefore, she herself is not as involved, and she's hired other people who are to her junior, who have not necessarily been trained as well as she has. And it obviously hindsight's 2020. Had I known that was the case, I probably would have found somebody else who was going to be who if I'm hiring you, I'm not hiring your assistant, I'm not hiring somebody that's working on your team. I'm hiring you to do the work. And when you worked with my daughter, things were amazing. Now you've got this junior person who is a lot younger of generation and does not communicate well, right? And again, it goes back to like, again, I thought I asked the right questions, but also jumped in because we had a good experience before. It's been a big lesson, and it's also for me with my clients. It's it actually makes it so that I want to make sure that I communicate so much more with my clients when I'm working with them because I don't want the same thing in any capacity to happen.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we all have to. If we work to scale past our involvement, there are reasons for that, certainly. Or you can keep it more boutique-ish and really take the knowledge because I can't, there would be no way to totally quantify the experiences of the years I've been on the planet. There's no way to downstream that. I don't even know how to
Right.
share it, you know, with that kind of thing. But I was trained up in certain ways, and that's actually why my commitment is to help the younger generations, because I think a lot of people have just said, go fend for yourself. And that's not, it's not right for them. It's not fair for them. So why would you not take the knowledge, education, experience, wisdom that's been gained and work to share it with those who raise their hand and say, I want it? It's not a matter of trying to push a rope. That doesn't work real well either, right? But if you want some assistance, I like to say that if you got want to, I'll help any way I can. Because if you got want to, you can learn the rest. If you don't want to, this ain't going to work. So
let me share something with you guys, and then I'm going to come back and I want to talk about what Solana did with both her coaches. Take a look. You followed the rules, tried the restrictions, counted the carbs, the steps, and the failures. You're not lazy, you're exhausted from doing it all without real change. What if the problem isn't you, but the plan? Sifu's Mind-Body Method is a 90-day transformation built on 7 unshakable pillars: mindset, movement, nutrition, hydration, fasting, journaling, and faith. This isn't another shortcut. It's your structure, your strength, your reset. You don't need harder, you need better. Ready to begin? Start today. If anybody's interested, the QR code is up there. You can scan it with your phone or whatnot. But I wanted to talk about what Solana spoke about. It sounded like you're dating. Great dating advice. The first one didn't do what they were supposed to do, so you quit. You said, we're no longer dating, we're out. The second one, you vetted them, which is a lot of people are not doing nowadays, and that's why there's so much divorce. So we should vet every relationship that we have, whether it's a personal relationship or a business relationship. And I love how you said, can we do this? Can we do that? Can we do this? And they followed. And that's the only reason you said, okay, here's my investment, right? And a lot of people don't do that. And I love the fact that you shared what you expected, never got. You were a little bit surprised, but you learned from it. And then the next one, you made sure it was exactly what you want. And you probably got more than you expected. Tell us about that.
I am getting more than I expected. I really am. Brian's been amazing. Because since he's telling me exactly what he believes we should change, I can respond and be like, I actually want him communicate it this way, or no, I don't want to put that in the book. Like, it's just very clear. So I'm not getting 50 pages of, oh, this is not what I expected you to add to my book. I don't like that, right? We just talk about it as it's going. So it's way, way better. And then as you're mentioning that it's like dating, I think of everything in business like dating. So I can't believe that I didn't vet that first person. Yes. However, I realized that they were a referral from someone who I thought I could trust, and I just went with it, which is also like dating. Someone might be like, oh, like this person would be a great fit for you. So you like kind of bypass stuff. You're like, oh, my friend knows me so well. No. No. I should have done a full vet. And so same with dating, right? Like, I don't care who you are. If you're a referral, even better. But I still need to ask the same questions as if I met you and never met you before, because you don't know what you're going to get.
So many things in life, I like, as Solana, as you just said, and Sifu, like it is like a dating process. When you're going and connecting with a prospective client, it is a vetting process, and it's dating. And you don't throw up on somebody on the first date, right? Like all the stuff, like you have to well, and if you do, I'm sorry if you actually do, but you have to, you don't want to lay everything out, but you do want to have some parameters and things as to figure out if you want to move to that that second date. Not necessarily always a specific checklist, but there are certain values and things, and whether it's their values, are they authentic? Are they holding themselves with integrity? Are there certain values that are coming through in that conversation that you're like, oh, you know what? It's worthy of the next step.
Sometimes in dating, some people forget to ask the question, depends on the age, are you interested in having children? Because if the other person is not interested in having children and you are, you're just wasting your whole time. So there should be no reason for a second date or third or fourth. But some people don't find out till the night before they're getting married. Hello. A little late.
Oops.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
I'm thankful
Great
we're living in a
conversation. Go
time.
ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm thankful we're living in a time where people are putting out so much content about stuff like this, such as like what to ask when you're dating. You
Yes.
can go on ChatGPT and type in what I should ask to vet somebody when I'm dating them. So I feel like, seriously, I feel like now we're in a time where like we're running out of excuses to not ask the right questions because it's in your face. So I'm thankful for that because now I know what to ask, and it's more common and less taboo to talk about these topics like how to vet somebody or anything like that.
I know we were going to get into a little bit, and I will just touch upon it. Then we're going to have to end the show about texting and calling.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I know we were chatting. I'm gonna let Scott get into it first, and then we're gonna go to Jaclyn, and then Solana, and then I'll put my 2 cents in because, as Scott always knows, I always have 2 cents with me, so I will throw those in there as well.
Oh my gosh. That's funny.
Well, that's why I love the ability to do a podcast, especially a video podcast, because we can demonstrate. For those who don't know, this is a phone, and and you can actually dial it, and somebody comes up on the other end, and you can have a conversation.
You mean circle?
Yeah, I still got one on the wall with a cord. What are you talking about? No, the point is we don't realize how important human communication is in actually talking to people. And the reason people go, well, again, communication is words, tonality, physiology. It's all 3 parts, but the words are the smallest part. And so that's why with texting, that's why emojis came out. I hate you, smiley face, right? The words were I hate you, but all of a sudden there's a smiley face emoji that takes over the tonality and everything else behind it. And that's why things have gotten so confused because we're using cryptic. That's too little, too often. We're using too few words to communicate, to really share our positions. It's not that hard to talk to people. People go, how do you meet so many people? I say, hey, how you doing? It's a very complex question. What's new and exciting? It's not that hard. It's try to bring some joy to somebody's day. In fact, I was just part of a smile-a-thon today. There's a bunch of speakers from around the world doing 10 minutes on the importance of smiling. Because, here's the cool part. When you smile at somebody and they look at you and they see it, well, a couple of cool things happen. It helps you and it helps them. But they also, what the hell's going on with him? Why is he smiling? So it makes them curious. And curiosity is an art that we've lost. Unfortunately, the good news is we can regain it.
Oh, God, it's so true. It's so true. The whole art, the phone, obviously, as you just said, it's something that you can pick up the phone and actually, hear somebody's voice. But, one thing that I observed, and it's been a constant observance, but as I was traveling this past weekend and I was on an airplane, I like to talk. I mean, I like to say hello to the other people that I'm on a plane with. And my first flight into I was flying from St. Louis to Dallas, and the person sitting next to me, immediately put in the earbuds, whatever, no conversation. And it's, for me, I find it very off-putting. Right. Thanks, Sifu. Right.
The do
And
not
then
disturb sign of
right,
the modern age.
right. Yeah, it's do not disturb, whatever, and I'm not connecting. And then I get into the lounge. I get into, I'm up, but I'm in Dallas at the, you know, at the lounge getting my, dealing with my 3 hours. And again, I'm looking at everybody and their earbuds in, their faces are down, nobody's looking up, not making eye contact. Except I'm sitting there with I've got my computer open, my earbuds are not in, and I'm looking around, and there's some guy that's like walking around, and I'm like, I'm looking at him, I go, do you need to sit? Like, you need to sit down? He goes like, yeah. I go, look, here, sit with me. I don't care. And for a brief minute, we had a conversation. He was running off to catch another flight to go back to Asheville. He was the only person I spoke to for 7 hours. I mean, like random, like whatever, but the only conversation. Next flight, again, earbuds in, fully closed down. And I think, when we're talking about communication and texting, I'd like to go back to the time when people didn't have the earbuds, in their ears and their phones on the plane. Yes, I know you can always say to somebody, hey, you know what, use your words saying, I need to use this time to catch up on my sleep, or I'm going to read my book. But meet the person sitting next to you. It's that art of communication. And it's something that I, when we lose that, Scott, you said people always want to know, how do I meet people? It is that. It's because you actually reach out and connect. You never know the person who's sitting next to you or the person that you're going to meet, where that is going to lead to. If you can be curious about other people, it's amazing what doors open up. I'm at a networking event and I'm talking to somebody, and the next thing I know, we're having a conversation because I'm asking questions, not to share about me, but for me to learn about them, and thinking about what questions can I ask to make that person feel heard, feel good, feel better. It's the 5 question or the 5 finger rule, right? Can you ask somebody 5 questions about themselves before you ever say anything about you? And it's amazing what the other person feels. You may walk away thinking that I've never even shared anything about me, but who cares? That person's going to walk away thinking, oh my God, I loved meeting these, Scott, Sifu, Solana. Like, I learned so much. They asked great questions or whatever, because you made them feel so good. But you didn't text. You actually used
your words.
Your words.
Because we're running out of time, Solana, I would love to hear your thoughts on
that. Okay. Well, when it comes to communication, one thing I will say, when it comes to my athletes, I have to be super careful with how I communicate certain things, because it can come off as maybe yelling if I just write it out as a text message. So that's the reason. And I don't yell ever, honestly. But I have some athletes who I've asked in person when I see them, which is not super often when I see them in person. And they're like, I know you're never mad because I've met you in person, but like sometimes if it's just a blanket text, I can't tell. So I'm very big now with like voice notes, a lot of emojis, like making the video so you can see my face. I've realized that even small things like that, I have to make sure I communicate things based off of what I'm trying to say. If it could be taken as negative, I have to make sure you can hear my voice, change my tone. So those small things make a big difference with coaching people, because if you just text out everything and you're like giving them critiques, it can really come off as you're yelling at them. So that's what I learned in my business about communication. But in general life, I will still say I do love a phone call versus texting.
I love how you talked about how do we communicate on a cell phone, right? Sometimes we can text, sometimes we can do a voice note, which is really, really a great way to do it because it takes the same amount of time. But I'm going to tell you the benefit of that over a text, because you can still get your emotion out the right way. And the other thing is, some people don't know how to respond back. So if you send them a voice note, they'll send you back a text. If you send them a text, they'll send you back a voice note. So a lot of times we need to know, how does this person want to communicate? So we actually have to take a minute to Did they send me a note, a voice note, or did they send me a text, or did they send me a video? What? People are sending videos as a text message? Yes, I do that. And so sometimes I've asked people who get annoyed when somebody texts them and I say, are you going to respond? Oh, I got to think about it. I'm mad. And I'm like, okay. And then a lot of times, instead of picking up the phone and going, is this what you meant? They'll sit on it, they'll harp on it, and it gets them madder and madder. And I'm like, why don't you clarify? Call them.
Oh,
wow. What a concept. What a concept. So those are my thoughts.
Revolutionary.
My thoughts on the phone. Sometimes we need to communicate the way they want to be communicating. And sometimes it's okay if we initiate, but then we have to kind of guide them. If we send a voice note and they send a text message, then we send another voice note. And eventually they'll catch on. Or maybe you have to catch on to them and send them a text message, right? Just an emoji, like a smiley face, right? So yes, we need to communicate at a higher level. And this is what I love what I do. And this is why I love having you guys on here. This is why, Scott, so happy that you are on the show with me. I have literally 3 minutes before I have to jump onto another one, but I would love to get every one of you to tell me a little bit about why somebody needs to connect with you. And by the way, if you didn't know it, Jaclyn is going to be speaking at our December 6th and December 7th event. It's going to be huge. I also have a surprise, a comedian friend of mine who's going to be there. So we're going to have all kinds of activities, food trucks, all this kind of fun stuff. So if you're interested, text to be on with me. And Jaclyn, I'm going to put your information up. Tell us why you got 45 seconds.
So that was connect with me if you really want to become the CEO of yourself and actually leap to your greatest success and be the communicator that you want to be to grow your business and your life.
Love it.
I like it.
Short and sweet. Just reach out to Jaclyn. Solana, you're up.
Connect with me if one, you want to start powerlifting or be coached in nutrition. But also if you work in New York City and you work with students and you want them to learn how to use their voice, have a safe place to express themselves and work on the art of public speaking and communication, connect with me via email at Solana Lewis, LEWIS.pt@gmail.com.
Love it, love it, love it. Wow. Definitely. Not only do I love what you do, but I love that beautiful smile you have. So keep it up. Keep smiling for us.
Thank you.
Yes. Scott, you're up, my friend.
I help people make more money by closing more deals at higher margins for longer periods of time. So if any of that is interesting, I can help. Scott at scottschilling.com. I do not hide well. I'm right there. Come see me.
That's it. That's it. I'm Sifu Rafael, and also I don't hide well. SifuRafael.com. For me, my passion is to help people reset, restore, and rise, whether that's through their health, their communication, or the way they just show up in leadership. Also, for me, it's not about adding more to your plate because you may already have a lot on your plate. It's about giving you the clarity and a proven system that fuels your purpose without burning out. So I'm here to serve in any way I can to help you unlock discipline, energy, and the mindset that already lives inside of you so you can show up stronger for yourself, your family, and your mission. So connect with all of us. We'd love to hear from you. Do me a favor, share this show with everyone. Somebody who maybe couldn't listen to it today. That's okay. We can have the replay for you. So everybody, thank you. God bless you. Thank you for being here. Solana, Jaclyn, and Scott. Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See y'all again soon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
This is Speaking Prowess,